Hey, what's going on, people? We are live. We are here live at the Living Proof Institute, and today we are in our special guest's office. We have Dipa in the house.
Hi, everyone.
Say what's up to the people, and yeah, we're super excited to have you guys joining us today. First of all, we just want to thank everybody who's been tuning in for the past couple episodes. We appreciate all the feedback and all the words of kindness, and even what people have been mentioning to us. So you guys are what continue to fuel us to keep doing these episodes, to put out this kind of information. So if you guys haven't tuned in, this is Living Proof TV. So it's a weekly Facebook Live show that we do, and we center around different subjects in holistic health. You know, it could be everything from nutrition, personal development, mindset, spirituality, and everything in between. And we feature some guests here who have some amazing stories talking about their journey, and also we focus around the subject of their interests as well too. And ultimately, it's for you guys. So if you just tuning in right now and this is your first time, number one, we ask if you please share. So grab your phone there and hit that share button, which we're gonna do right now. So let me see if this feed's live over here. So please share, because this is some awesome information that could potentially help somebody out there. So I'll be your host for this show today, and why we're really excited about doing this episode is because Dipa has an amazing story. When I heard about this, I think just interesting at the Living Proof Institute. If you guys don't know, a lot of us basically didn't choose this job, right? It's a role that we decided that basically found us because we had to learn the hard way. So we have such an eclectic group of staff, from medical doctors to functional medicine practitioners, holistic nutritionists, and personal development coaches. And the funny thing about you, Deepa, is that she literally was giving people pills. She's got a trained pharmacist background, and now she's actually having people get off medications. So before we dive into our subject today of speaking about healing from surgery, I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background and your story. Talk about that quote that I just mentioned of a little bit about your history there.
So I guess for me, I got introduced to functional medicine shortly after I graduated from pharmacy, and I got introduced to functional medicine through my husband, Chauhan-Patel. And I was working in a traditional pharmacy setting at St. Michael's Hospital in the oncology department, which I absolutely loved, but it was very heartbreaking to see these patients who were on all these medications and suffering from pretty much side effects of chemotherapy. And I was getting introduced to a lot of concepts in terms of healthy nutrition and diet, and I really wanted to apply these protocols to these patients, but because they were coming in such an acute setting that it was hard to apply some of these protocols, especially, given the circumstances being in the hospital and things like that. So that's when I first got introduced to it. And then I guess in terms of my own journey, I guess applying functional medicine principles and more holistic health and healing, it really occurred after the delivery of my son. I had a pretty, decent pregnancy, no symptoms of pregnancy. It was very healthy. I was working out three times a week, with a personal trainer. So it was a very healthy pregnancy. And then I had a lot of complications with my labor and delivery. So it was a 48-hour labor, and then they finally decided to do an emergency C-section. And shortly after the C-section, I was fatally bleeding, so they had to do a emergency hysterectomy. And then pretty much a week after that, I developed a small bowel obstruction. So for me, that's when my journey really started with functional medicine.
Right. So talk about it as well too, because I know we're talking about healing from surgery today. The first thing I actually want to dive into, first of all, is kind of talk about that background of being someone who's going from pharmaceuticals and then now using holistic methods to help people. What did you see that's such a big difference in contrast from that kind of setting to what you're doing right now, helping patients in a different way?
So I guess in terms of my own personal experience, what I experienced is, I'm forever indebted to the medical system. They saved my life on numerous occasions. And so, with surgery, they do an awesome job in terms of, getting you back on your feet, I guess, getting rid of the acute problem. But where I saw a lot of, room for improvement is the post-surgical care. I didn't have any follow-up with the surgeon after both of my hospitalizations. It was just pretty much, okay, go home and you're good to go now. So there was no information on how I could heal from the surgery or how I could prevent reoccurrence, especially with small bowel obstructions. There's a 30% chance of recurrence once you've had one. And with my first one, it was shortly after the delivery of my son. And so my primary focus was going home and taking care of my son, of this newborn baby that I've just had. I was in the hospital for a month and wasn't able to breastfeed. I ended up having an emergency C-section, so I really wanted to be able to nurse him and breastfeed, and that was my primary focus. And then I did have a recurrence of a bowel obstruction literally 6 years after the first one. So when that happened, I was really focused on how I could prevent that from happening again. So that's, that gap in the medical system is what really, and I kind of saw that with my patients in the hospital as well. As the hospital was great at really alleviating any symptoms of the chemotherapy or any complications of the cancer or surgery or whatever it might be, but it's the hospital post discharge that I feel is really lacking, and people just don't know what to do or where to go.
Even before diving into actively looking at some solutions, because I know now after going through those challenges you experienced, that you've definitely cultivated a lot of experience for sure, and obviously that's the best way to learn. Going back into that, like, what do you think you do differently if you know now, like, if I started from where I was, prior to the surgeries and everything like that, what would you have done differently beforehand? So then you can start making the changes necessary, so you could have had a better route towards healing.
Well, I mean, I believe that everything happens for a reason and everything happens to teach us a lesson. So I don't know if I would have done anything differently, because I think that things are just meant to happen in our life at a certain time to teach us specific lessons. So, it's unfortunate that I did have to have a reoccurrence of the small bowel obstruction the second time, but I think that it really taught me that I need to take care of myself and put myself first in order to be able to help other people.
Yeah, and that's the important part as well too, because I'm sure it must have been so hard on yourself as like being a mother, where it's like, look, you just gave birth and now you're almost like completely pulled away from your child. Talk about like even like the mental emotional components behind that. Like, what were you going through during that time?
Yeah, so I guess right after I delivered my son, I was pretty much put under general anesthesia because they had to do the hysterectomy, so I didn't even have an opportunity to see him. And I guess mentally, it was kind of hard because they were throwing out names of drugs which I knew were meant to stop bleeding. So I knew what was going on, and then the next thing you know, I was under general anesthesia. And then I guess the week after he was born, just because I had lost so much blood, I had to have several blood transfusions. I was just so weak and fatigued that it sounds weird to say, but I didn't even have the energy to love him because I was just so drained.
Yeah.
Just physically and not even emotionally. I was just physically drained.
How long were you actually in labor for?
It was about 48 hours.
48 hours, yeah. Right. So on top of you already not feeling your best, you were adding even more stress and pressure to yourself, and ultimately your stores are completely depleted.
Exactly.
Yeah. So was that something, like, what was going through your mind? Was that something that was really hard on you during the time, to like being so distant from your child?
It was, but then I ultimately knew I had to get better for him. So that was my drive and my motivation to get better and not feel sorry for myself, and just to kind of move on. Which I think, you were asking in retrospect, what would I have done differently? Like, maybe I should have focused a little bit more on myself after the first time that it happened. Because, like I said, after I came home from the hospital, I was there for almost a month. My primary focus was taking care of him. So I didn't really do a lot of the things that we're going to discuss. After my second surgery, that's when I really looked into post-surgical care and decreasing scar tissue and adhesions. But it was after the first surgery, when my son was first born, and when I first had the small bowel obstruction, I didn't really focus on myself.
Yeah, and just want to clarify as well too, for some people who are tuning, they're probably wondering what is a small bowel obstruction. So can we get clear about that? Can you explain what that is exactly?
Yeah, so small bowel obstruction is basically when your small intestine is partially or fully obstructed.
Mm.
So you're not able to eat any food, and you're not able to, pass bowel movement. And so
Right.
for some people, depending on how the small bowel obstruction occurred, it can resolve spontaneously,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a stricture that just spontaneously unravels or but for most cases, it does require surgery. So in my case, I did require surgery because after the C-section and the hysterectomy, I just developed so much scar tissue
Mm.
that that's why the small bowel obstruction occurred. And they did give it a chance to resolve spontaneously, but it just wasn't happening. So
Mm.
I did have to have surgery. And it's kind of a catch-22 because the surgery ultimately can lead to more scar tissue, more adhesions.
If you don't make any changes.
Exactly,
Right.
and so you are at risk of another small bowel obstruction.
Right.
So it's kind of this like perpetuating cycle.
Right. And that's why you had the reoccurrence, because it wasn't properly taken care of during the first place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
And what would there be any other reasons aside from surgery that would cause something like this? Because I know there's definitely people out there that may have gotten it without going through surgical.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
surgery is kind of the number one reason, but there's other reasons too. If there's any type of trauma, because trauma can cause adhesions and scar tissue as
Yeah.
well. So there are other reasons, but surgery is kind of the top one.
Okay, cool. And before we go dive in and figure out some solutions to share with the people, because this is something I'm really interested about. If you guys are just tuning right now, we appreciate you guys coming into this Facebook Live of Living Proof TV episode number 3 featuring Dipa Patel. And her story is pretty cool. You guys can always come back and tune in if you missed the first part, but she literally was a trained pharmacist as a background before she actually got into functional medicine. So she was giving people pills, and now she's helping people get off them. So it's great to see like where her passion and fire comes behind what she does, because she really takes that care and attention. Because ultimately, you were working with oncologists and seeing people who are, probably getting unnecessary medications, and you probably seen their quality of health kind of deterring because they haven't had any other interventions to help offset some of these things that were occurring with them. So yeah, super cool story. And if you guys please have any comments, questions, suggestions, please comment below. But after we finish speaking with Deepa today, we're gonna do a live Q&A as well too. So we're happy to take any questions you guys have. And coming back into, before I just welcome our new guests that are just tuning in, this is something that holds true and dear to me as well too. Coming for healing for surgery, I've seen many people who could have had better outcomes towards speeding up their healing process, who could have felt better before if they took some specific measures to actually get their body primed and ready, and also knowing kind of what to expect as well too. Because I know, like for example, why I have such a deep place for me is a big part of my challenge in my health journey was my own surgery, right? So a lot of people may not know, but I actually have a metal plate right in my wrist over here. So I got this big scar that's about that long right there. And this was a big part of my challenge because after my surgery, I wouldn't know nutritionally things I could have done to prep myself, and also during what to expect, what kind of emotional issues are going on, like how can I have a better supportive environment, and also post surgery as well too. I could have probably taken some sort of supplements, certain things to heal, and also as well too, I didn't have the support there. So this surgery for myself led me to a deep, dark depression and tons of anxiety that I felt in my life. And, it got to a point where a lot of those symptoms even led to a lot of physical stress. Very like, I've had fibromyalgia for like 5 years before I actually relieved it. And it got to a point where, I was so stuck, I wasn't feeling good. And, I was taking these medications, feeling so numb, and like I didn't know what to expect. So if people had tools and to better understand, like, what can we do better so that I can have the best possible way of healing and getting back on my feet, right? Because ultimately, that's the whole point of the surgery, is so that we can address the underlying issue and get the person back to a better state of well-being. So let's kind of break it down in sequences. If someone was about to get into surgery, because I know regardless if it's small bowel obstruction or any other sort of challenge they're going to go through, they're cutting into the body and breaking up some tissue, what would you do to prepare someone to start off, right? And what kind of things are the best interventions to do?
Yeah, so if you have a planned surgery, some good tips for pre-surgical care: make sure that your diet is clean. So what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that, make sure it's anti-inflammatory diet. So you're, decreasing inflammation, because ultimately when you have the surgery, you're going to have a lot of inflammation. So
Mm-hmm.
you really want to be on a diet that's anti-inflammatory. So, plant-based diet.
Yeah.
So, very strong plant-based diet.
Okay.
You can even, make sure that for me, I didn't know I was going to have a C-section, but like I said, I was seeing a personal trainer 3 days a week. That gave me a lot of physical strength and
Mm.
stamina to endure what I had to go through. So, you always want to make sure that you're prepared physically in terms of
Strengthening
exercising,
the body.
strengthening the body and the
Right.
muscles before you have the surgery.
Right.
Because a lot of people focus on post-surgical rehab, but I think it's just as important to
Prepping before.
prep it
Kind of
for.
just like if you're getting a pregnancy, some of those exercises that they do to
Exactly.
strengthen the muscles. And I'm witness to that as well too. From my own experience, obviously it was a wrist injury right there, but I didn't have any of the strengthening exercises till after my surgery, and I lost so much muscle tissue. Like this arm was literally like 50% of this one.
Yeah.
Right, like that's how much like this wasted away as well too. And plus I probably could have got other things going on my body, even working aside from the injury in itself, because I do want to notice when certain areas out of function, right, usually the other areas will start to compensate for it.
Yes.
So re-strengthening your body beforehand is probably very important as well
Yes.
too. And so when it comes to the diet as well too, aside from eating high plant-based, is there any other things that people should be a little bit mindful for anti-inflammatory foods?
I think also increasing protein intake.
Protein intake, okay.
Is very important for tissue regeneration and wound healing. So you want to make sure you have adequate protein intake as well.
Okay.
So I'm primarily a vegetarian. I do eat eggs, but you can always supplement with things like collagen powder or collagen protein. Some vegetarians are okay with supplementing with that.
Yeah.
So Dave Asprey makes a great product. It's upgraded collagen protein, which is really helped me post-surgically as well.
Yeah.
So but we're talking about pre-surgical, which is fine to take pre-surgical as well.
And just getting the body ready for sure as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, I know collagen is one big thing as well too. In particular foods, I know collagen protein is easy way without having to make the bone broth. But bone broth would you recommend as well too?
So bone broth is another great a tool to include pre and post surgery as well.
And the relevancy of this is because of what is containing in this. What exactly nutritional benefits are we getting from this that are actually helping with the body?
Yeah, so the collagen protein and the bone broth both contain collagen. So collagen is essential to our tissue regeneration, bone regeneration, hair, nails. It's great for our skin. So when they're cutting through your skin when you have surgery, it's great to I guess regenerate the skin and regenerate the tissue.
Okay. And anything else you'd recommend as well to pre-surgery? Anything from like mindset standpoint, mental, emotional health?
Yeah, you want to make sure that you do have good mental and emotional supports. It's if it's a planned surgery, you're able to kind of prepare for that a little bit better, but you definitely want to make sure you have the mental aspect cued in. You want to make sure that you have emotional support system as well. That's very important.
Yeah. And I know that's an important part as well too, because especially too prior to leading to surgery, that kind of care is quite intense because it obviously calls for that greater attention, because it's come to a point where like you don't really have a choice in a sense, or it's gone to that place where that this is the intervention that needs to be taken care of right now.
Yeah.
So I'm sure at least from my experience, I noticed I had a lot of stressors in towards that injury in itself, looking at it in a negative way, being frustrated, because it took me, I think, like over a year trying to heal the surgery without surgery, right? So I've already created a lot of like negative thought patterns. I was really hard on myself as well too. So I think it probably, for a lot of people, it'd be important to listen to some tools potentially, or read some books that actually shift the mindset, start coming in better communication with the physical body as well, right? And even visualizing as well too, right? Because for the most part, I remember like that negative mindset that I had, I was just like always thinking about the wrong things that could happen, like I'm never going to heal, but we have to
Yes.
start physically, even visualizing
Yes.
ourselves, thinking like, oh, we're already healed. We can see like the muscles and the cells and the
Yes.
fibers actually kind of growing and
Yes.
feeling better already, right?
Like with my first small bowel obstruction, I think that I really I had a higher purpose in terms of taking care of my son. But with this second surgery, I I basically with the second surgery, I felt like emotionally more drained because I felt sorry for myself. Why did this happen to me? So you kind of have to really do a lot of inner reflection and really look deep into, everything happens for a reason. What is the lesson to be learned from
Right.
this, right? So
Okay.
I think that's important in terms of preparing yourself that way, making it a more positive spin rather than kind of, playing the victim.
Right. Okay. And then when it comes to now, obviously you go in through, you've done the work. Well, even talking about as well too, is there any other specific supplements you'd actually recommend prior to surgery? Is there anything that falls into that?
Prior to surgery, that's not. I haven't looked into that too much, but I guess chaga is great for strengthening the immune system
Right.
because there's a lot of post-surgical infections that can happen. So that's a great, I guess, supplement or I guess tea to drink prior to surgery. I wouldn't really recommend things like curcumin too much, which is a great anti-inflammatory pre-surgically because it can thin the blood. So I'd be wary of some of those supplements. But post-surgically, there's definitely a lot that you can take.
Yeah. Would antioxidants probably be helpful as well too, you think,
Yeah,
of
I think
having pumping that in the body?
Yeah, like vitamin C and all those things
Yeah.
would probably help pre-surgically.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
finally you go get there, get under the knife or whatever your surgery is, finally get the work done. What do you expect out of that? What is the best way? Someone's like, okay, good. Doctor's like, hey, you just need some rest. That's basically usually what they tell you. Maybe you get some sort of pills or medications to help with some of the pain that you're feeling. Maybe one thing I understand as well too is there any recommendations where it's like, would you recommend things that are more holistic and natural, depending on like the severity of pain? To like what extent would you make those recommendations for the individual?
So for me, for pain, I guess I was quite fortunate because I have a pretty high pain tolerance. So I think I took the painkillers maybe like 2 or 3 times after the surgery.
Yeah.
And then I didn't use it at all. So they had me on the pain pump, and I didn't use it pretty much at all after the first day. So I was fortunate that way that I didn't really have to deal with a lot of pain type issues. They'd come in and ask me every day, "What's your pain on a scale of 1 to 10?" And it was pretty manageable for me without the medication.
Right.
So for me personally, I didn't really have to take anything for the pain.
So it's personal to like someone's pain threshold.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I remember for me, like when I got medications, like I was in a good amount of pain for sure after, and I think like I try them for maybe like the 1 or 2 days, but like I just felt so numb that I was like, I don't even like this feeling. Yeah. I'm just gonna like.
And then for me, it was kind of a catch-22 because with small bowel obstruction after the surgery, you have to wait for your bowels to awaken again and to kind of start functioning again. And when you take narcotics and painkillers, that slows down gastric motility. So I was trying my hardest not to take the painkillers because I really did not want to slow down the gastric motility because I didn't want to impair my healing at the same time. So, small bowel obstructions are interesting because you just don't have the surgery. You have to, after the surgery, there's a whole nother aspect of waiting for the bowels to reawaken and work again. And even in terms of diet, it doesn't just go back to a regular diet. You have to work yourself back up to a regular diet.
So talk about some of those things that you did. I guess knowing better the second time, right? Of like what interventions you took.
It's funny because the first time I felt like once my bowels started to work again, which is basically when they start hearing bowel sounds, when you pass bowel movement, when you pass gas. Yeah. That's when your bowels start working again. Yeah. So the first time I feel like I was able to pretty much dive right back into a regular diet pretty quickly. But the second time around, I felt that it was basically took a little bit longer for me. So I felt really nauseous, and I felt, it did take a little bit more time for me. I had to start off with really small amounts of food.
Right.
And then I did look some stuff up on the internet, and we'll get a little bit into it, but I did end up going to a place called Clear Passage down in Gainesville, Florida.
Right.
I had been in touch with them, and they kind of gave me some recommendations with diet. So
Right.
with small bowel obstructions, they recommend you go on a low residue diet, which is pretty much like a low fiber diet.
Okay.
So avoiding raw vegetables, you want to make sure that they're cooked. Avoiding a lot of the high fiber foods such as lentils
Just
and
things
legumes.
that are easier in digestion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So incorporating foods that are a little bit easier to digest.
Cool. So we'll definitely do a shout out to Clear Passages for sure. If there's anyone actually in particular is looking about bowel obstructions and looking for a place for healing, we'll probably put a link down below. Mm-hmm. And for anyone that's just tuning in, appreciate you guys coming in. If you are just tuning in right now, we're number 3 episode of Living Proof TV with Dipa Patel. Background of a trained pharmacist, basically gave people pills and then now is helping people remove it. And if you guys are enjoying this episode so far, we appreciate you guys giving those likes, throw some of those hearts out there, and also share this feed. If you feel this information is valuable, we'd love for you guys to extend it out there into the social media atmosphere and world. And let's get back into particular as well too with regards to post-surgical care and the interventions we can do, starting with talking about nutrition. Let's go a little bit of supplementation and any of those other things you feel are necessary to help someone speed up the healing process.
Yeah, so for me, I guess, like I said, the second time around, it was a little bit harder for me to get to a regular diet. I didn't really feel like ingesting anything. It took a while for me to get back to a regular diet. So one of the first modalities that I used to help with reducing scar tissue and helping with wound healing was hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So there's a clinic just down on Lakeshore in Port Credit. It's called Under Pressure. So I did 12 sessions over probably a 2.5-week period.
Okay. And
so what hyperbaric oxygen treatment is it basically saturates the blood, specifically the red blood cells, with oxygen, and oxygen is very healing. It helps with tissue regeneration, it helps decrease inflammation, helps decrease edema, helps with wound healing. And there are some studies that suggest that it may help with decreasing scar tissue. So, that was definitely a therapy that I had implemented right away. That was one of the things, because I didn't have to ingest anything. Like I knew I could just go there and sit in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber and, passively receive this therapy. Right. So that was definitely one of the first things that I did.
Okay, and then from a nutritional standpoint, what's the best thing to do? Because I know sometimes, like when you're post-surgery, your appetite's not as strong. Yes. You don't like what kind of food should people eating, and should they be kind of like easing into their nutrition, starting a little bit like slower?
So it varies from person to person, and with small bowel obstructions, they do recommend that you go a little bit slowly. You don't want to start eating like full-out meals right away,
right?
Because your bowels, have just come back to life essentially.
Yeah.
So you do kind of like it's like a baby. You have to start off with like more softer foods. Yeah. Like I drank a lot of soups and broths and things like that.
Right.
And then I just pretty much it's more about the portions that I could handle. I was eating very little, but trying to eat more frequently.
Right.
Even having like protein shakes and things like that to help supplement with protein intake.
Right.
Free-form amino acids are all those things are kind of what I did in the beginning.
Right, because those would be a lot easier as opposed to like eating heavier proteins that are harder for breaking down. These amino acids are easier to absorb through the body, right? Yes. Just to speed up the healing process as well. Yes. Okay, anything else nutritionally that you'd recommend as well too?
Well, I guess in terms of supplements, like I started taking proteolytic enzymes. So proteolytic enzymes really help decrease scar tissue. They can help decrease adhesions. So there's different kinds on the market. So there's seropeptase, there's Wobenzyme. So those are some therapies that I implemented in terms of supplements to help decrease scar tissue. I took some curcumin. I know you had told me to, up the chaga to help with the inflammation.
We love the chaga.
Yeah.
it's like my go-through everything. So I brought a piece over here with us today.
Yeah. So, those were kind of some of the supplement therapies that I had.
With regards to seropeptase or any of those proteolytic enzymes, Is there a best time to take it to make sure the
Yes.
efficiency is best utilized?
So proteolytic enzymes, you always want to take them on an empty stomach.
Yeah.
Because if you take them with food, they're just going to help with digesting food and not really get to the area where they need to get to break up that scar tissue.
Right.
So empty stomach. So you can take them twice a day. Depends on which type you're using, but typically it's twice a day on an empty stomach.
Right. And from my understanding, they kind of just work like scavengers, basically, because if you take them on an empty stomach, then they'll instead of because like I remember my friend made a recommendation, I think, to someone taking proteolytic enzyme, but they weren't listening to when you should take them.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, my digestion's a lot better.
Yeah.
And he's like, hold on, your digestion's better? He's like, when were you taking those enzymes? He's like, after meals. He's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because it was breaking down the foods that you were eating.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. So obviously the whole idea is to break down the underlying proteins and scar tissues that are floating around the body, which cause the inflammation ultimately, right? And eliminating those.
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then curcumin, obviously everyone hears about turmeric and make and all that stuff. Curcumin is just the higher potency version, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Perfect. Is there anything else you recommend for supplementation or anything like that?
I know some people use like DMSO. I'm not too. I haven't had experience in that area, so I know my friend Brian Hardy.
Yeah, shout out to Brian. He actually introduced me to DMSO as well too. So I've been using it towards like some of the pain I had in like my ankle for the injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I recently did a podcast with him. It's called Redefining Reality. So make sure you check that out. But he did mention on that podcast his experience with using DMSO topically and I think orally as well. So check that out.
Yeah. And if Brian, you're tuning in, we love you, brother. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. And no, definitely the DMSO is one option as well too. And from my understanding as well, of course, any sort of antioxidants, like chaga obviously is containing lots of antioxidants for sure, but your body has a whole bunch of free radical damage happening after that. So as much as that from whether it be superfoods or anything like that to throw into your nutrition would be great. Things like vitamin C and stuff as well too. I know that works well for building up collagen and tissue, right?
Repair, yeah. So making sure you get a broad spectrum vitamin C. I used C Biofizz, Designs for Health.
Yeah.
That's a great product. So that really helps with tissue healing and wound healing as well.
Cool. Any other therapies as well too you recommend that can help with post-surgery or wound healing and stuff like that?
So I guess shortly after this happened, the second time, my husband Sachin and the whole team, you guys went to JJ Virgin's Mindshare, and you met Andrea Duffy from Sunlighten.
Yeah. So
as post-surgical gift, my husband gifted me a infrared sauna, so that was great. So infrared sauna therapy uses far, near, and mid-infrared rays, which help with same thing with scar tissue, breaking up scar tissue, help with tissue repair, wound healing. So I do try to use the sauna at least 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I have a cold laser. So cold laser therapy, it's low light intensity therapy. Same thing, that helps to decrease scar tissue, decrease adhesion. So I was using that pretty much every day after the surgery. Now I use it maybe twice a week at least before I go to bed. And then there's also the biomat, which is infrared therapy once again. So I use that as well. I sleep on a biomat every night, so that really I think helped as well with speeding up my recovery. Yeah, I can vouch for the biomat and also that sauna. Yes. I'm so glad that Sashi got introduced to it, because since he has one, I'm the benefactor of it. We had like a session in that sauna. It's amazing. It's so good. Yeah. I love how there was actually even, because of course you're under a lot of stress as well too, so you need to completely relax. So I love how like there's even like the vibration that mixes in with like the audios and like the meditations there, how there's like a monitor and how you can actually fully like read in there as well too. Oh, it was super sweet. It's like very relaxing. I felt so zen when I got out. I just wanted to like lie down and like sleep like a baby for sure. So that was pretty sweet as well. It's definitely my sanctuary. Yeah, that's your spot, eh? Yeah, that's my spot. Nice. And let's talk about even as well too from a like mental emotional component. Personally and also from some support of others. I know that's an important part, because I always wish that, that I had more support during my surgery, after as well. Because I felt like I kind of just isolated myself. I didn't want to go out. So I'm very grateful for some of the friends that would actually come to me personally to my house and just making sure my spirits were high and making me feel good. Talk about that a little bit. What was your experience? Yeah, so I'm so fortunate to have such a loving and giving family. My parents, my in-laws, everyone helped so much during both surgeries. I mean, especially my first one, my son was literally a newborn, and he wasn't with me at the hospital. So forever grateful to everyone who helped take care of him. Um, Even after the second surgery, everyone who helped out taking him to school. I don't know what I would have done without my family. So the support systems are very important to have. Mentally, I have Dr. Patel as my husband, who, he's amazing in terms of mentally just being there for me, keeping my spirits up. He, whenever I felt down, he always kind of, encouraged me to look at the brighter side, and just he's such a great support to have. So I'm so blessed to have him in my life as well. And then of course my son as well, who, just yesterday it was funny. We were talking about his birthday, and he's like, mommy, my birthday wasn't the same this year because you weren't there. So it was just, he's an amazing little boy. They're also special, but just I'm blessed to have such amazing family and friends. Everyone, there's so many people who reached out to me, came to visit me post surgically, which really helped my spirits. So helped me kind of get back on my feet. And so just, it's really important to have a support system.
Yeah, and it was amazing to see, because I was actually witness on the other side, because you disappeared from the clinic for a little bit because you had to go take care of yourself. But it's so important to see like how fast you actually get back on your feet and start working like very functionally on a great level, because you were taking the time to do these therapies, take the time to slow down. So I think it's a good indicator as well too. From just the way we're used to normally operating, that we can't compare ourselves to what we're usually doing, right? And that life really has to slow down so you can speed up, right? So knowing that, like, look, you may have specific limitations, you got to move a lot slower, right? So the importance of really being with your breath during this time, taking it super easy, and your body speaks to you. So when you feel the pain and you're feeling like all that stress, you're usually moving in a pace that's way faster than your own well-being like is asking for, right? So just being mindful, definitely slow the pace down, be okay with not working because or doing things that you're used to doing, because if you do this right,
which I know you are like a constant reminder for me to just slow down.
I always poking at Dipa like, hey, slow down a little bit, right? So definitely important aspect as well. Anything else you want to share as well too for healing with surgery or anything like that that may help with people?
So I definitely want to give a shout out to Clear Passage, to Belinda and Larry Wern. So in November, I went to Gainesville, Florida to visit their clinic, which was a great experience. So it was a 5-day treatment, 4 hours of treatment per day for 5 days. And they basically do like a manual visceral massage, deep therapy massage. And it's supposed to help, along with the home care exercises that they prescribe to you, it's supposed to help decrease your recurrence of small bowel obstruction from 30% to 3%. So I'm very grateful for them and for their clinic. I feel like I made great improvements by going there. So definitely very grateful for being able to go to Clear Passage.
Cool. And we're very grateful because you got Dipa back in her feet. We were definitely missing her, right? Mama Hen wasn't in the house, so it made everything a little more challenging, but we held strong for sure. Yeah, perfect. And I appreciate you sharing that valuable information for the people there, because I think this is so important, right? If like everyone knew this, they had some sort of package or some sort of care. Like, look, do these things, you can get it back on your feet a lot faster.
For sure.
Right. So we appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode. It was such a joy learning about your story and going a little bit deeper in it. Like, I know I heard a little bit, but understanding more of those intricate details are always interesting. And just sharing this wealth of knowledge and information. Like you said, there is never a mistake for why things happen.
Yes.
It makes you stronger for other people, because then you can share your story to serve other people who are going through similar circumstances. So I appreciate you even standing up. I definitely have acknowledged Dipa first time on the camera, and I think she did a great job. So that's amazing. I know she's definitely been getting building her self-expression muscles and feeling that confidence again. So yeah, I think you did an amazing job. And we're grateful for you guys, the viewers. This is all about you. So the reason why Living Proof TV is possible is because you guys continue to tune in with your support and your questions. And we appreciate every single person out there who shared, who's liked, and is coming here to support us. And if you guys do have any particular questions, please feel free to comment and shoot us a message. If there's any areas you guys are wanting to understand a little bit better and wanting us to speak about, we're happy to kind of speak on those subjects and create one of these episodes around that as well too. I'm sure, Deepa, we have a couple lined up for you as well. We're going to talk about raising happy children. I think definitely we got to speak about as well too, and also as well even mothers during the time of pregnancy. I think this is a subject that definitely needs to be spoken about. So that's really important. And we're also excited as well too because episode number 4 is with the one and only Dr. Chauhan-Patel. Yeah. And from my understanding, we're going to talk about motivation, and pick on his brain in there. It's a big part of why I actually got into the Living Proof Institute because of the mindset, around health and wellness, and also in our own personal journey to just really live a liberated life, to live in your full expression and do things necessary to make sure that you're happy and healthy so you can be of service to other people. So super stoked to dive into that next week. And as well too, if you guys do have any questions about you want to ask Dr. Patel personally, please comment below, let us know, shoot us a message, and we'd be happy to try to answer some of those questions for you guys. Until then, if anyone is still seeking some care, we're happy to chat with you as well too. So we'll put a link for to book a consultation with us. You can speak with me or you can speak with Emily. We'd love to learn more about your personal journey and your story, get a better understanding where your health is, and see if we could be of service to help you guys out, using the care at Living Proof Institute. So feel free to schedule a free phone consultation. Be happy to chat with you guys. And until then, you got any words of wisdom? I know you want to share that thing. I think it was really cool before we end this episode.
So,
please do.
I guess I just want to, give a shout out to Marie Forleo. I'm on her email subscription, and on August 30th, so my surgery was beginning of August. August 30th, I received the email from her email subscription, and the title was "The Beauty of Scars." So I'm like, oh, let me open this up.
Yeah.
So I just want to share a little excerpt from that email that she had written, which really resonated with me.
This is like the synchronistic way the universe is delivering some words of wisdom,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll just read it directly from here and share it with you guys. But it basically says, how many of us believe that our shortcomings and scars, whatever form they might take, make us weak, ugly, and unworthy? How many of us feel a sense of shame over our perceived flaws, failings, and imperfections? What we do next is attempt to hide, cover it all up, smile, and keep our chin up, and pretend everything is fine when inside we're not. The truth is, none of us are without scars, none of us are without flaws, but embracing our totality, which includes a checklist of things we consider embarrassing or broken or difficult, is the path to a fully lived life. Our scars build strength, our scars cultivate courage, our scars deepen our compassion and widen our hearts to make space to comfort others. While I don't know the shape or size of your scars, and you may not know mine, I do know this: we all have them. Whatever your scars may be, know that they do not diminish you one bit. They don't make you less, they don't make you broken, they don't make you damaged goods, they make you beautiful. Our scars are never ugly, our scars mean we're alive. So I just want to share that with everyone because I'm sure everyone probably can resonate with that to some degree.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely resonate with that. And I think, the biggest part towards healing and well-being, regardless if you're in a place of challenge or if you're continuing to, just become the best version of yourself, is continue to love and accept where you're at and then use that place for transformation, regardless if it's challenges you're experiencing or whether it's good things into your life, is to keep bringing that upon yourself, right? Because when we feel good, we heal better, right? And when we feel good, we become better of service, and we ultimately allow our light to shine. So love yourself. You are worthy. We love you guys, and we are super grateful for you guys tuning in. Till then, episode number 4 on the way with the one and only Dr. Chauhan-Patel, and we're out from the Living Proof Institute.
Bye.